The movie kicks off with a big fight scene where this guy named Bong Weigong takes on two troublemaking young guys who wanted to harm him. Even though he's all by himself and doesn't have any weapons, Weigong manages to beat them easily. Soon after that, a bunch of other rowdy youths show up and are totally shocked to see their friends defeated by Weigong. Right at that moment, he gets a text from his wife asking about a teenage girl he's supposed to be taking care of. In the message, his wife talks about hoping the girl is okay and that he can spend time with her. The story then goes back a few days earlier, when Weigong is just chilling at home reading a book. His wife, Han-soo, walks in and tells him she wants to go on a vacation to Jeju Island with her best friend. She also wants to check out a place for a restaurant she wants to open with her friend. Han-soo plans to be away for 2 weeks and asks Weigong to look after her best friend's stepdaughter, a 17-year-old named Yunji. He's not too thrilled about the idea and tells his wife he's not a babysitter, especially since Yunji would be staying at their house for a while. Weigong and his wife have a bit of an argument, but eventually he gives in and agrees to watch over Yunji while his wife is away on her business trip. The next day, he drives his wife and her friend, Kim Soo-ah, to the airport and promises to take care of Yunji while they're gone. Late at night, Weigong is in his car, apparently dozing off while waiting for Yunji. She's got these extra lessons after school, you know. But then, Yunji taps on his car window, waking him up. He's quick to tell her to hop in the car so they can head home. But she's got a request. She wants him to drive her and her buddy to Hongdae because they've got shopping plans. They get to where they're going, and Yunji spills that she wants to crash at her friend's place for a few days. And get this, she wants him to keep it hush-hush from her mom. Without batting an eye, he agrees. He's thinking maybe he can finally chill out without worrying about her all the time. So, what does he do next? He asks for her wallet, throws in some cash, and hands it back to her. Right before she jets off with her friend, he reminds her that she can always hit him up, especially if she needs a hand. And oh yeah, he throws in a be careful out there and steer clear of any mess. After that, he's in a hurry to get back home because he's super tired and just wants some shut-eye. Later on, Weigong is at home when his phone rings, and it's Yunji on the line. She sounds like she's in pain and pleads for him to come over quick. Thinking she's in trouble, Weigong races his car to the spot Yunji mentioned. But when he gets there, he's shocked to see Yunji perfectly okay, just chilling and chatting casually with a dude. Yunji introduces Weigong to the guy as her uncle and says he's a senior from her school. Once the guy departs, Weigong appears puzzled by the late hour she's out, considering she had mentioned planning to stay at her friend's place. But she's too absorbed in her phone to even answer him. He's ticked off because she's acting like he's a game or something. In response, he expresses an attitude of resignation, suggesting that she should proceed to her friend's place if that's what she prefers. But wait, she's not going. She's hopping onto some guy's motorcycle, claiming he's her senior. Weigong's fed up, thinking he's done with her. Then, out of the blue, his wife, Han-soo, texts asking about Yunji. Weigong makes a U-turn and starts following her with a tracking device he sneaked into her bag when he gave her some money. Yunji is taken by that man to a closed ice skating rink and then brings her in front of Sung-yeon, a girl involved in criminal things, where she uses handsome boys to seduce several young girls to get them to date. After that, Sung-yeon would kidnap and force the young girls to become hookers and profit from them. Yunji and her friend are facing some trouble from Sung-yeon, who's trying to trick them using good-looking guys. Yunji's friend is really upset and asks Sung-yeon to let them go, but she doesn't care and just slaps Yunji's friend. Meanwhile, Yunji tries to fight back, but it doesn't work out. A bit later, Weigong arrives at the scene and tells Sung-yeon to set Yunji and her friend free. He warns Sung-yeon that he'll fight her and her gang if she doesn't listen, but she doesn't pay attention and tells her gang to attack Weigong. Weigong is really skilled at fighting, and Sung-yeon's friends are no match for him. He easily takes them down one by one. Even when she stabs him in the stomach, he doesn't give up and fights back. Eventually, he knocks her out to protect Yunji. Then he takes Yunji back home and tells her to rest. The next day, Yunji was curious about Weigong's work. She saw his fancy mansion and asked what he did for a living. He told her he has a successful property business, but didn't want to talk much about personal stuff. Later, in the evening, Gong asked Yunji to join him for dinner at a restaurant. As they were heading back, they passed by the skating rink, where Gong had fought Sungyeon and her group. Unexpectedly, the place was blocked off by the police, and lots of officers were around, suggesting that something serious had happened. They were stopping cars, including Gong's, and one officer named Lee Young-ho talked to Gong. Young-ho said there was a murder at the skating rink and asked Gong some questions. Gong was calm and answered everything, but Yunji was acting strange, as if she was keeping a secret and was worried about the police finding out. When Gong finally got home, he started looking into the murder at the skating rink. He was shocked to discover that the victims were the same troublemakers he had fought with the day before. Meanwhile, Yunji was in her room, feeling really upset. She sent a text message to someone and was amazed to find out that the beaten-up troublemakers were the same ones that Gong had fought with. The next day, Young-ho goes to Gong's place. He wants to know where Gong was when the murder happened, as a security camera caught his car passing by the area 30 minutes before the crime. Not just that, Young-ho found more footage showing Yunji driving with one of the victims. Turns out they were Yunji's classmates. But Gong doesn't spill the beans, so Young-ho starts wondering about him and his relationship with Yunji. Gong explains he was just looking after Yunji, while her mom and his wife were away for work in Jeju Island. He asks Young-ho for solid proof before they can be questioned formally. After Young-ho leaves, Gong talks to Yunji. He wants her to be honest if she knows anything about her classmate's murder. This reminds him of a time when he helped a girl who was in a dark place. She asked for a hug, and when he gave it, she fainted. His thoughts are interrupted by Yunji's phone ringing. It's Sungyeon calling. He takes the phone and talks to her. She says she has a knife with his fingerprints and might give it to the police. Scared, he agrees to meet her within an hour. He asks Yunji to stay home while he meets Sungyeon. Yunji gets scared about being home alone, but Gong insists she comes with him. He's worried and gives her a bracelet with a tracker, just in case. Then Gong quickly gets ready, preparing his weapons for the worst. On the other side, Sungyeon feels powerful after her threats. But Sungyeon doesn't know Gong used to be a feared professional killer worldwide, not just in South Korea. He finds Yunji's wallet with a tracker and rushes to find her. Gong reaches an apartment and meets Jong, Sungyeon's cousin, who's into shady dealings with young girls. Jong calls a big guy to fight Gong, but he makes a mistake underestimating Gong. Gong fights back and defeats the guy. Sungyeon hears the fight and rushes out, shocked to see Gong. He asks for the knife with his fingerprints, but things get worse as both Sungyeon and Jong point guns at him. Jong eventually gives him the knife and they escape. Gong chases them but loses them in a dim room. In the room, Gong battles a man who's almost as skilled as him. They fight fiercely, and eventually, the man runs away after Gong injures him badly. After the fight, Gong hurries home and sees that his place was broken into by a group trying to take Yunji. He uses a tracker to find out where she is. He follows the tracker and ends up at an apartment building used for illegal stuff involving underage girls. He hears a girl scream from one of the rooms, and it's Yunji's friend. Some guy was about to hurt her, but Gong steps in and saves her. He asks where Yunji is. Sungyeon is there too, and she sees Gong coming. She tries to run, but he stops her and pushes her to tell him where Yunji is. Since Sungyeon won't talk, Gong has no choice but to tie her up and push her for info about Yunji and her bad gang. Sungyeon reveals that they deliberately involved underage girls in launching the illegal business run by Jong, where they then hired the young girls to seduce adult men, then blackmailed the men for giving them pleasure. To make their business go smoothly, Jong and his group have joined forces with some crooked cops. They all work together and split the money they make. Sungyeon reveals to Gong that Yujin and several other young girls will be sent to Russia to become a hooker, and tells him the address of a hotel where Jong is holding them before taking them to Russia. Not too long after that, Young-ho shows up because a neighbor reported hearing a lot of noise. He goes into the apartment and is shocked to find Sung-yeon hurt badly, with Wee-gong nowhere in sight. Meanwhile, Wee-gong reaches the hotel and battles the troublemakers we saw at the start of the movie. He takes them down easily, even though he's alone. With his sharp skills and good aim, it doesn't take long for Wee-gong to beat the guys who try to stop him. Wee-gong questions the 3 guys who survived about Yunji. When they can't help, he doesn't hesitate to take them out. Suddenly, a blonde guy named Yuri shows up. He's Russian and reveals himself as a professional assassin who once fought Wee-gong in Zhang's place. Yuri says Yunji is being taken to Russia on a ship leaving at 8 tomorrow morning. Realizing he's short on time as it's already early morning, Wee-gong changes his plan. He goes back to the hotel and battles Yuri again. In the middle of the fight, Wee-gong traps Yuri, then jumps out of a window and lands on Young-ho's car. Young-ho aims his gun at Wee-gong, accusing him of killing Sung-yeon and the man at the ice skating rink earlier. Wee-gong faces the accusations calmly, then takes Young-ho's gun and threatens him. Since it's morning, he handcuffs Young-ho and Yuri in the car and drives fast to save Yunji. In short, here's what happened. Wee-gong gets to the port just in time to stop Yunji from getting on a ship to Russia. He fights and takes down the guys who took her. But then, Zhang shows up, wanting to hurt Wee-gong by crashing into him. Wee-gong dodges Zhang's attack and tells him to spill the beans on who's behind all this. Zhang won't talk, so Wee-gong ends up killing him. Young-ho sees how Wee-gong doesn't hesitate to kill, realizing he's not just an ordinary guy. Wee-gong takes Zhang's phone and finds out Young-ho is a bad cop working with Zhang's gang for their illegal business. Having proof of Young-ho's involvement, Wee-gong threatens him. He makes Young-ho do what he says, or else he'll show the evidence to other cops. Young-ho doesn't want his police career ruined, so he goes along with Wee-gong's demands to clear Wee-gong's name. Later, Yunji goes to the hospital, and Wee-gong stays with her. He tells her to tell the truth to the police. She blames herself for everything that happened to her and her friend. Wee-gong comforts her, saying it's not her fault, and tells her to rest and focus on getting better. Not too long after, Young-ho meets up with Wee-gong at the hospital. Wee-gong tells him he found out about Young-ho's partnership with Zhang when he saw Sung-yeon's body in his car by accident. Wee-gong figures that Young-ho killed Sung-yeon to make him look guilty. Wee-gong asks Young-ho to gather info about the Russian mafia that's after Yunji and the other girls. At first, Young-ho says no because it's risky, but he has to do what Wee-gong says because Wee-gong has evidence that could ruin his police career. A few days later, Wee-gong meets Han-ju, an old partner who quit due to a leg injury. Wee-gong asks him for help finding a sniper rifle and a silencer gun. Han-ju's surprised because he thought Wee-gong retired. Wee-gong explains he has a small issue to handle and needs the weapons urgently. Later that evening, Wee-gong gets a call from Young-ho. He tells Wee-gong about Park, a guy from the criminal group in charge of sending girls to Russia, including Yunji. Meanwhile, Park gets furious when he learns his guys were killed and the cops know about his illegal stuff. He packs up and leaves. But Wee-gong gets there first and takes down all of Park's men without breaking a sweat. He even kills them while sipping coffee. Wee-gong corners Park and makes him spill info about the criminal group. Park resists, but Wee-gong points his gun at him. Finally, Park reveals that he and his gang, who turns out to be a woman nicknamed Pig Mama, provide young girls to grown men who are willing to pay a high price to satisfy their desires. But the people they sell to aren't just anybody. They're important government folks and rich business people. Before long, Park and his crew are told to get around 5 young girls to serve a chief justice named Kim. Park and Pig Mama usually target high school girls who are still unstable and lure them with some money before finally trapping them into the circle of illegal things. She also works with criminal syndicates from Russia and conducts exchanges with them, in which they also send young girls from Russia to become a hooker in South Korea. After dealing with Park, Wee-gong calls someone and tells them to hurry over. Soon, a bunch of people, led by a guy named Tae-hyun, show up. They clean up the mess, taking away Park and his gang's bodies. Taehan's surprised by the call because he thought he quit being a professional killer. Weegong explains he'll need Taehan's team soon for a big job outside the city. Taehan says no at first, but when Weegong offers to pay him 3 times the usual, he changes his mind and agrees. The next day, Weegong finally gets the weapon he wanted and tests it out at Hyunju's place. Then he goes to the hospital to meet Yunji. She's really upset because her friend, who was also a victim, chose to end her life. While he's at the hospital, Weegong calls Young-ho. He asks about Yunji's past. She was adopted by Sua after her real mom passed away when she was 5. Young-ho also tells Weegong about Kim. Turns out he's from a powerful family and has a lot of political influence. It seems impossible to put him in jail. But Weegong doesn't care. He's not sending Kim to prison, he's sending him to hell. Young-ho adds that Kim is having a party at a fancy mansion in a private area owned by his family. That way, his bad deeds won't get noticed. In short, when Kim is busy partying with girls, Weegong strikes. He uses the sniper rifle he got from Hyunju to take out Kim's guards. On the flip side, Yuri, who used to work for Kim, realized something was up. He couldn't reach the guys guarding outside the mansion. Weegong managed to sneak in, and then he started a shootout with Yuri's men, who attacked him all at once. At the same time, Young-ho was also there. He aimed his gun at Weegong, threatening to kill him. Young-ho had joined forces with Kim and Yuri. Weegong could have easily beaten them, but he let them capture him. He wanted to get face-to-face with Kim, so they take him to a room where Kim is with a sad-looking teenage girl who seems like she wants to escape. Soon after, Young-ho tells Weegong he's not scared of Weegong, showing evidence of their involvement with Jong and his gang. Kim promised to help Young-ho by using his connections with the police and prosecution. Weegong isn't shocked by this, he saw it coming. He's still as calm as ever. Young-ho and his crew take Weegong away. Kim drags the girl into another room, where he's going to do bad things to her. Meanwhile, Weegong fights back, easily taking down Young-ho and Kim's crew. Then he grabs Young-ho's gun and doesn't hesitate to kill him. Young-ho dared to betray him. Weegong doesn't show any mercy to Kim's guys either. He kills them all right away. Before long, Yuri shows up. They have another intense one-on-one battle. They're both professional killers and really tough. They're almost equal in strength, using weapons and their fighting skills. They're determined to beat each other. After a fierce, deadly fight, Weegong manages to overpower Yuri. He drops Yuri's body in the middle of the party, and everyone freaks out and runs away. On the other hand, Kim doesn't know his guys are all dead. He's happy, thinking he'll have a wild night. But he's in for a shock. Weegong's already in his room, holding a gun. Kim calls his guys, but Weegong says no one's coming. He took care of them. Kim tries to make a deal, saying he'll protect Weegong from the law so he can do illegal stuff freely. Weegong seems interested, but then he says he's done with his bad past. He's a good citizen now, paying taxes and running a legal business. After that, Weegong asks Kim to spill the beans about Pig Mama, who's actually Sua. Kim spills that Sua heartlessly sold her own adopted daughter, Yunji, for big bucks in the illegal business. With that info, Weegong gets up, looking like he's leaving. Kim thinks he's off the hook and that Weegong won't kill him. But Weegong turns around and shoots Kim. He laughs hard as Kim finally bites the dust. Sometime later, Sua's on Jeju Island having lunch with Han-soo. She gets a call, she thinks it's Kim. She tells Han-soo bye, hops in her car, and picks up the call. But it's not Kim, it's Weegong. He's been waiting in his car for her. He breaks the news that Kim, Park, Jong, and their gangs are gone. Weegong knew Sua was after him all along. He's mad at her for dragging his wife into this mess, so he points a gun at her head. Sua was in cahoots with Young-ho. They framed Weegong and blackmailed him by accusing him of mistreating Yunji, a teenage girl. But in the end, Weegong takes down Sua's criminal gang and topples Kim's power. Then Weegong asks Sua to drive somewhere. He tells her that he and his wife will look after Yunji till she's independent. They reach a deserted spot, and Weegong shoots Sua in the head, killing her. After that, Gong leaves the car and heads home. Meanwhile, a van arrives, carrying Taehyun and his team to clean up the mess and remove Sua's body. Later, Gong finds Han-soo at the beach, enjoying the sunset. He tells her he kept his promise about Yunji and brought her along on vacation. The movie wraps up with Han-soo smiling at Gong and hugging him. But who is the teenage girl in Gong's flashback? It was Han-soo all along. So the moral of the story is sometimes bad guys mess with the wrong person, and things get all kinds of crazy. So if you're planning anything shady, maybe think twice before crossing paths with a retired tough guy with a lot of determination.